I'm Steve Turano with Ask a Real Expert. This video is going out to Strukel, and he told me his name rhymed with strudel, so I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. He was asking me about macros. He was all confused and worried because he's getting so much misinformation out there. Well, let me answer this question by giving you a few situations that I was just in. Down here in Clearwater, we have a pretty famous weight loss doctor. And I was talking to one of the doctors who works at that office. And I said, "Hey doc, what type of diet do you typically recommend?" He says, "Oh man, we go with low carb, no doubt about it." I said, "Really? Give me the macro makeup of your low carb diet." He said 40% carbohydrates, 30% proteins, and 30% fats. And I go, wow, that doesn't really seem like that's very low carb. I said, because I typically recommend 50% carbohydrates, 30% proteins, and 20% fats. So really, 50% carbs versus 40% carbs, not a huge change. And he said, you know, really, it's all these processed sugars, all these foods out there that are killing us. We can't digest all this high fructose corn syrup and all this other stuff. And hey, I am not doubting that for a second. There are so many processed foods out there with tons of sugar, cereals and cookies and cakes and Pop-Tarts and all sorts of stuff. Yes, absolutely. Why are they saturated with sugar? Because sugar tastes great. So anyway, talking to this doctor, and I said, well, that's interesting, doc. I said, how many calories is your typical diet for somebody who's trying to lose weight, who's really in a bad situation, meaning they have to lose weight or they're going to die? He says, oh, well, our low-carb diet is 800 calories. Oh, whoa, doc. You mean to tell me your low-carb miracle diet is only 800 calories? He's like, yeah. And then we also put these people on stimulants so they have energy and it speeds up their metabolism as well. And I'm like, dude, there really isn't much difference between 50% carbs and 40% carbs. But the big difference is they're only eating 800 calories. And he said, oh yeah, absolutely. He said, we found out that if we increase their protein and their fats too much, they got fat. So in the end, it was still the total number of calories they took in, and we still have to create a calorie deficit for these people to lose weight. I said, oh, okay. So now I'm in the gym a couple days later. My buddy and I are talking to a guy who's getting ready for a bodybuilding show. He's there. He looks great. He's huge. Now he's supplementing because you need that if you're going to be competing at any level in bodybuilding. And he's about a month out. He's big. He's ripped. He looks good. And I asked him, I said, hey, Mike, you know, how many calories are you taking in? And he said, I don't know. I have no idea. Really? Calories are the currency of weight loss and weight gain, and you don't know how many calories you're taking in? No, I have no idea. I'm thinking to myself, if you're going to do additional shows, maybe you should count your calories so you know where you are, how many days out, what worked, what didn't. Anyway, I said, hey, Mike, do you know what your carb, protein, and fat breakdown is? He goes, no, I have no idea. But I'll probably start tracking it now that I'm getting closer to the show. So now I'm thinking, there's a guy standing in front of me, looks just like the guys in the magazines. Now he's supplementing, but he looks just as big and just as ripped as the guys in the magazines. He didn't have a damn idea how many calories he's eating. He didn't even know what macros he's eating. Proteins, fats, carbs. He has no idea. So I'm talking to a guy who looks just as good as those dudes in the magazine, and he didn't know a damn thing about macros, proteins, fats, or carbs. So it's like I've always said, our diet supplies more than enough protein, even a shitty diet. If you ate at McDonald's, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you'd have more than enough protein to build muscle. So if you're worried about losing body fat, you have to create a calorie deficit, regardless of what you eat. If you're worried about getting big, the number one thing you need to do is lift hard. The second thing you need to do is lift consistently. And the third thing you need to do is lift intelligently. Those are the most important things. okay, because we get more than enough proteins. Our diet is laden with carbohydrates. So again, when you're talking about when I should eat, what I should mix, forget all that garbage. Just work out consistently. And I'm telling you, we get guys who train with us. Most of the guys who train with us are supplementing. And two things happen. One guy either says, man, this is great. I'm getting bigger and stronger than I ever have. Other guys go, this shit's hard. Man, I'd rather go back to lifting lightweight, getting a big pump, and still getting bigger because I'm supplementing. So in the end, you still got to train. You still got to train hard. You still got to train consistently. And don't worry so much about your macros. If you're trying to lose weight, create a calorie deficit. Watch your calories. Do cardio. If you're trying to get big, work out. I'm Steve Turano. Train smart, train hard.